And Venezuelan officials say a fourth U.S. citizen is in custody there, accused in a plot to overthrow the government. The arrest comes as a new report from the UN Human Rights Council says violence against alleged opponents of President Nicolas Maduro has reached, quote, unprecedented levels, accusing Maduro's government of using arrests, sexual abuse, and even torture to stay in power. The report says some of those arrests include children. The UN says the instability is very likely to cause more Venezuelans to leave the country, potentially headed for the U.S. Let's bring in Venezuela's opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, for more. Maria, thank you so much for joining us. These 4 Americans are now in custody in Venezuela, accused of being part of a plot to kill President Maduro. The U.S. State Department has said any allegations of U.S. involvement in a plot to overthrow Maduro are categorically false. So what can you tell us about these allegations, and do you think these arrests will lead to more U.S. involvement there?
Thank you very much. I think it is very important to understand what is behind these actions of Maduro. He lost, he had a huge defeat on July 28 when we won the presidential election by a landslide. And when he was deprived of all legitimacy, he decided to go all the way with repression and persecution. Today, every single person that was directly involved with the elections, we are either in hiding, under asylum, in exile, or in prison. But we are willing to fight. And certainly the United States, as well as the rest of the Western democracies, have to understand what it means if Maduro prolongs this tragedy. There are going to be millions of Venezuelans fleeing, and many will reach the south border of the United States because they find no future in Venezuela. We have to stop that. We have to make those that have left come back to rebuild our country, and we have to do it now.
Now, Venezuela's president-elect Edmundo Gonzalez is in Spain, granted asylum after signing a letter accepting Maduro's election victory. Now, in an exclusive interview just released by Reuters, he says, quote, the Maduro government was coming for me. He claims he was forced to sign that letter, and now Spain is denying claims that they were involved in negotiating it. So what's the latest on that, and how much weight does that letter actually hold?
Well, I think it had turned out as a huge mistake for the regime, because now everybody knows here and abroad that Edmundo Gonzalez was forced. He was blackmailed. All kind of coercion was put into him. He said either exile or el helicoide. El helicoide is the biggest torture center in Latin America. That's what he was told by the regime while he was in the Spain embassy in Caracas. So this is a proof of the degree of the repression and coercion that regime has put into us. But now he's safe, away from Venezuela. He has just been recognized as president-elect, not only by the Congresses of Chile, Colombia, República Dominicana, but also yesterday by the European Parliament. This is huge. And what we want now is that U.S. Congress also does the same, recognizes Edmundo Gonzalez as president-elect. And we believe the United States government should do that as well.
But that said, Edmundo Gonzalez isn't in Venezuela anymore. So now what? Do you feel like you've been left to pick up the pieces?
No, I think he did what he thought was necessary to protect his life. He is president-elect. We cannot have him on a regime's jail. That would have been a disaster. So I think now we are in a stronger position to keep fighting, and he should and will be sworn as the constitutional president of Venezuela on January 10th, which is what our constitution states. But from here to there, we need to put all the pressure on Nicolas Maduro so that he understands that the cost of staying in power will be higher. It's getting higher every day until the cost of leaving power is less than that. And that's what we need to do right now. We need to put all pressure from within, and that's what we are doing, even we're persecuted and being under repression. I've been accused of terrorism. The regime is looking for me, and that's happening with most of our members of our teams but we are working, we are willing to fight, as well as our Venezuela diaspora around the world. So this is the moment to move ahead, to put pressure on Maduro and to make him understand that all those that have committed crimes against humanity will be held accountable.
Now, Maduro has his military and the courts behind him. You have the support of the U.S., the EU, and various neighboring countries in Latin America. So what options do you have right now to try to restore democracy in Venezuela?
We have the support of the people. That's the most important thing. We won an election 70-30 under terrible conditions, by the rules of the tyranny. They didn't even let a fourth of our population that is abroad to vote. If they could have voted, this election would have ended up 90-10. So this is a country that is united, and that includes middle ranks and lower ranks of our military, our police, the judiciary system. Maduro, the only thing that has left is the support of the top brass. And this is a moment in which he has to understand that every day that goes by, he's more and more isolated internationally and locally. So we have to reach that point in which the cost of staying is so high that he understands that in his best interest, he has to sit down for a negotiated transition. And that's precisely what it's going to happen. So we need to keep pushing, and we need the American people, not only the government, the American people to understand how critical it is to solve the conflict of Venezuela for your own national security, for your own well-being, and certainly for the cause of liberty and freedom. We've never been so close. Yes, it's the most dangerous times, but we will prevail.
All right, Venezuela's opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, thank you.